Hello everybody, I'm going to be doing another commentary for you all. Now this one's going to be very different from my normal fare, because what I'm going to be doing today is analyzing a game from the recent IEM New York major LAN tournament, because that's sort of the highest level play that we have available in League of Legends. I actually think that it's a tragedy that League of Legends has so little replay content available to the public from high-level games. I mean, from any games, because there just aren't replays for LoL officially. But specifically high-level games, because in order to foster a competitive scene, you need to be able to see what the pros are doing. Now, we've made up for this as a community a little bit by having a lot of pros be very avid streamers, and good on them. But it's not the same as being able to take actual high-level 5s games and replay them and pick apart the play and figure out what everyone's doing. So that's my goal right now. How I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be rewatching the live broadcast that the official Riot commentators gave from the game. I just pulled up a broadcast of it, like a recording of it on YouTube, the first link that I found. So I won't be controlling the camera. But that should be okay because probably they'll be catching all the important things anyways. This game is the first of a best-of-3 series in the semifinals between CLG and SK. I know who won the series, although I won't spoil it. If you haven't, if you still want to watch all the IEM New York games. But I don't know who won this game in particular, and I also don't know anything about this game. I haven't watched it. I've watched most of the picking phase because I've recorded this intro like a couple times before screwing up something and then having to start over. But that's all that I know about this game. We're doing this raw and live. CLG is an American team, probably the most famous League of Legends team in the world. They have HotshotGG, who is by far the most popular LoL streamer out there. They have, and he plays top solo for them. Also on CLG, we have Saintvicious, who's going to be in the jungle. Elementz, who's going to be playing support. Chauster, who's going to be on AD carry. And Bigfatjiji, who's going to be on AP carry. On the other side, we have SK, very strong, very well-known European team. I know less about them than I do about CLG, just because I'm North American, so my knowledge of the scene is much more North American than European. I believe they're mostly German. Panda plays AD carry for them. Nyph plays support. Ocelote plays AP carry, Snoopeh plays jungler, and Wikd plays top solo. So I'm going to be starting this so that we can look at the banning and picking phase. I've muted it because there is in fact commentary, so unfortunately we won't get game sounds. But we will be getting my voice. In IEM China, which was played a little ways before this, I believe, yes. Yeah, so in IEM China, sorry, CLG, I got distracted by something in my room. CLG took their match against SK also in the semifinals, 2-1. So there's a bit of a grudge match going on here. In terms of the ban phase, we're seeing Udyr banned, which tells me that they don't want aggressive junglers on CLG. And then Cassiopeia, which is probably a direct ban against Ocelote, because Ocelote has a very, very strong Cassiopeia. And then a Galio ban. Galio is one of CLG's signature heroes. So again, a respect ban. Kog'Maw, just because he's a very strong carry. I expect, because Kog'Maw's banned, that they're looking to pick up Caitlyn. Kog'Maw is one of the best carries to lane against the Caitlyn, so that's my guess. And Nocturne is also banned, so that sort of further confirms my theory that they're not looking for ganking semi-carry junglers to show up on CLG. CLG is known for their very, very strong laning phase, so giving them aggressive junglers makes it that much harder to win, because aggressive junglers obviously put more pressure on the lane, and CLG's strength is in the laning phase. So you first pick Gangplank because he's a very strong hero, and again, they're taking out the aggressive early ganking semi-carry junglers. Lee Sin is still in the pool, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him picked up. We do see a Trundle pick. Trundle, I don't know if they're going to lock Trundle, but Trundle is usually, yeah, and there's the Caitlyn that I was talking about. Oh, no. Wow, okay, so they switched to Nidalee. Now, Nidalee's a good pick here because HotshotGG is known for his Nidalee. Like, that's his signature hero. Oh, and they do grab Caitlyn and not Trundle. Okay, so there's the Caitlyn pick, which is good because of a Kog'Maw ban and also because Caitlyn's a very strong hero. And also Nidalee. This tells me that they're going probably for some kind of poking comp because both Caitlyn and Nidalee do a lot of poke. I wouldn't be surprised to see them grab the Trundle. I haven't seen that far in the picking phase yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them grab the Trundle because Trundle fits very well in poking comps, and if they do grab that, I'll talk more about that later. We see that in response to the Caitlyn pick, SK immediately grabs Taric. Taric Caitlyn is one of the strongest lanes in the game, so if the opponent picks Caitlyn, it's often correct to grab Taric as your support. And teams like to pick Caitlyn early in their lineup because it forces the other team to pick Taric, which may not be the support that they were looking for their lineup. They also grabbed Tristana, which is interesting. That's a very aggressive pick. Tristana needs to just win the lane, otherwise she's going to fall behind against Caitlyn, who has much longer range and harder hitting nukes at early levels. So the Taric Tristana lane, I think, is slightly disadvantaged against Sona Caitlyn in general, just because of range issues, basically. Sona's a pretty obvious pick for a healing, poking composition. She has a really good counter initiation with her ultimate, and she has a heal. And similarly, Trundle is excellent in poking comps, because what he does is they can run in, and if they run in sort of one at a time, you can seal one off and kill them with the pillar, or you can just block them all out and just keep poking if they try to initiate. Like if Gangplank throws down his ult, you can just throw down a pillar and then not care. Now, here, SK I think has done something very, very clever with this Kassadin pick. Poking and heal poke team compositions like to spread out a bit so that they can't get initiated on very strongly. But Kassadin forces your team to cluster up. So what this does is it means that Gangplank ult is going to be very strong because if the other team spreads out, Kassadin will be able to pick someone off. It means that Taric's Shatter and Aura will probably hit a bunch of people. I would like to see maybe a more AoE-focused top lane, like a Gragas or something, than this Irelia pick, but Wikd plays Irelia a lot and is well known for his very strong Irelia, so player preference is definitely coming into that. The CLG needs to pick up their AP carry. I don't know who they're going to go with. Gragas would also not be bad as a counter initiation play, or Morgana similarly. They could do a Zilean here, although Zilean is more for aggressive comps than defensive ones like this. Yeah, Morgana seems like a really good pick because Morgana is a very powerful counter initiator. She can shield whoever's most important that's getting jumped on, and then just ult if the other team runs in and clusters up, and her ult will hit everyone because they've tried to initiate, which is a very strong effect, obviously. In general, I feel like I like CLG's picks here more than I like SK's, because I think that they have a more coherent and focused team. And I feel like their lanes are going to be pretty good. Morgana is also a decent lane against Kassadin because she can push and he'll have trouble farming. And I feel like their lanes are more or less advantaged. I think Irelia has a slight advantage over Nidalee because they both have high sustain. But I think that Morgana should beat Kassadin here, and I feel like Caitlyn Sona should beat Taric Tristana, provided that they don't give up an early death. So I think it's going to come down to SK getting really good jungle pressure from this Gangplank, and obviously they're confident that they can. Okay, we're jumping out into a view of the players here. Obviously they're confident that they can because they spent their first pick on the Gangplank, so they clearly really want Gangplank. Taking a second to drink some coffee. All the players looking very intense and all that. Actually going to skip ahead a bit until the game starts because I don't really care. We don't really, like, it's good for live, for live commentators to be trying to build drama by looking at the players, but honestly to me, who wants to analyze the game from a strategic perspective, a bunch of pro gamers sitting around in headsets is not that exciting. We can see though that SK Gaming is looking pretty confident over here. They're like high-fiving each other and whatever, so good on them. Team morale is very important, especially at a LAN tournament where there's so much pressure at a live event. I'm gonna keep skipping ahead. Okay, cool. Here we go on to the loading screen. I'm just gonna make sure that I called everyone's. Just gonna make sure. Come on. That I called everyone's role correctly. Yeah, okay, cool. So this is spectator mode, so we can see everyone's items and stuff at the bottom, so that's really helpful. And we're watching from SK's perspective in terms of... Actually, I don't know how spectator mode works for this, but anyways. The game's been paused here. I'll just talk about the items real quick. The only weird item choices that I saw there... can we get back into the game? Okay. The only weird item choices that I saw are Trundle's Vampiric Scepter, so that tells me that he's not looking for an early aggressive... gank. He's looking to probably clear the jungle once and then base and come out ahead gold-wise, but he is vulnerable to counter-ganking, as vulnerable as Trundle can be, which isn't actually Trundle's very strong. That's an interesting ward that was just placed there. Yep, right there. You can see that it gives vision of this whole river area, so it stops aggressive incursions. We have Caitlyn placing traps mid. That's just general good practice. When you have a Caitlyn, the other team might miss some CS on their mid laner, and that's really important for that. And Caitlyn can, of course, put more traps up bottom lane later when it matters. We see a CV going down there just to protect against jungle invasions, but neither team seems to be doing any jungle invasions, so good. We noticed that Gangplank didn't take wolves. Most junglers at high level play will take the wolves and then the blue. So that sets him a little behind where he would usually be. Sort of hope I didn't cause a crash of thunder there because I just knocked against my microphone. But yeah, you can see sort of real quick that Trundle's gotten off to a much burst junglier start than Gangplank has. Gangplank's just cleared his top, and Trundle's about to finish clearing his third small camp. But Gangplank will be able to gank much earlier as a result of getting these buffs. Top lane, I suspect, is going to be pretty even for the first part. Eventually, Irelia will get strong enough that I think she should be able to start jumping on Nidalee. Although HotshotGG's Nidalee is very, very good, so it's hard to say. Already, we can see that Kassadin's going to be having trouble because Morgana's just pushing mid. Saintvicious there backing. And yep, here's the early gank from Gangplank, and this should pick them up first blood. Very nice gank, very well developed. Morgana trying to push against Kassadin. So Gangplank just came from straight down here and went up. You can see that I just noticed that the golems, the little golems there just spawned, which means that the bottom lane, Tristana and Taric, picked off the little golems. If you happen to be on blue, it doesn't set your jungler behind to grab those, provided that you grab them exactly when they spawn. And if you kite them correctly, then you should take 0 damage for doing it. So that gave Tristana like a little bit of extra gold boost and, yeah, 60 extra gold, and gave them each a little bit of extra experience, so they probably got level 2 faster in this lane. Which gives them a bit of an advantage, which they really needed. You can see sort of standard bottom lane warding happening there, so good. In general, we see that SK is up a little bit in CS overall. Gangplank is down to Trundle, but he has a kill. So obviously that makes up the gold differential. And Irelia is slightly ahead of Nidalee, and Kassadin is slightly behind Morgana. But the big one is that Trist is 4 CS up on Caitlyn, which is like difficult. I was not expecting that. So if Trist can keep that up, then they should end up with an advantage. They try an odd dive there. I'm not sure about that gank because Saintvicious sort of waited until Kassadin was pushed back to his turret, till Ocelote was pushed all the way back to his turret, and then came in and like pillared behind him. And I don't know. I think Ocelote didn't even have to blow flash there, if I'm correct. Oh no, okay, it looks like he used flash in the previous gank in order to get the kill on Morgana. I really like that. That's nice. Okay, we can see Gangplank and Trundle running into each other in the jungle. Now, obviously, Trundle is way better in these sorts of situations, and Gangplank actually dies. I was not expecting that. So, like, really well played by Saintvicious and GG there, getting that pick on Gangplank. But yeah, obviously, 1v1, especially at low levels, Trundle just dominates Gangplank. You can see CLG immediately taking advantage of that. GG's HotshotGG's porting down. GG's pulling it and then backing out, which is correct. And they're going to grab an early dragon advantage, which will set them up really well for this game. And also, Nidalee was pushed way up when that happened, so she doesn't even lose much CS. So really, really good play by CLG, just picking up on the game and picking up on what they had to do, capitalizing it. Oh, that's cute, and such a douchebaggy move, and so strong, because he's gonna miss a whole extra wave just because of that. And HotshotGG's not missing anything because his creeps are just not even gonna get pushed up to the turret, and even when they do, Trundle's there to cover. So just like a really, really nice, subtle little play, sticking around to cancel blue pills, can end up with a very large advantage. Like, that's going to give him like probably, I guess, about 8 CS missed for mid lane that he wouldn't have missed otherwise, which will set Morgana up with a level advantage. I'm not talking about this fight much because I don't think anything's going to happen. We do see a couple flashes blown. But that's mostly what I'm talking about, is CLG has just better range and better damage on this lane. And they have Exhaust, which is a better skill than Ignite for a duo lane. Like, I actually think that SK really misidentified how they should be playing. It really misidentified their goals in bottom lane. We see them giving blue buff to Kassadin. After pushing out top lane, that's like very safe play. You need to push out that top lane, because if Hotshot was pushed up to the turret and they had a ward or a CV on Gangplank while he was really low tanking that, waiting for Kassadin to come, then Morgana could push, putting pressure on Kassadin, and Hotshot could run down and steal the blue, or at least force Gangplank to smite it, and then get it on the wrong person. So it was really good by Wikd to push up there. One of Wikd's really, I think that he's known for his grasp of the subtleties of top lane play, like just doing the little things right. You see there that he did one of the big things wrong as he stunned a creep in that last engagement. And then he just did it again. He just eat a creep again. I wonder if that's on purpose to CS faster? Because I thought for sure he would be going for Hotshot for the tower damage, but 2 misclicks in a row seems really uncharacteristic of high-level play. So I guess that must have been a conscious decision, but I don't know why. We can see a blue buff also on Morgana. No, good blink dodge there, because that binding was going to hit. And that would have been a lot of free damage. Not that Kassadin really cares about that at this point in time. He's already got his catalyst, so damage is nothing. But yeah, here's what I'm talking about, in that Irelia at this point in the game is just so much stronger in a direct confrontation than Nidalee. Even though Nidalee out-sustains her, she can just blink onto Nidalee and just keep whacking away and force Hotshot to go heal. So they're going to need to put pressure on Wikd soon. See a very early oracles on Trundle. Getting in early oracles on a jungler is a sign that the team thinks they're winning, because junglers tend to die, and oracles is a really strong way to cement advantages, especially on a character that's roaming a lot like a jungler. And Sona, of course, at this point in the game isn't and can't roam a lot, so getting in oracles on her isn't that valuable. But oracles is sort of the best way in a game to cement an advantage. Wards are a really good way to stop losing, because if you have vision on things, then you can just play safe and farm and sort of pick up advantages that you can. So oracles is a really good way to make sure that the other team keeps losing. We can see that this is working a little bit. They're up actually less gold than I thought they would be, just because they're losing in CS in general. Especially top lane. Wow, Hotshot's actually 15 CS behind. That's a lot. And Caitlyn's still behind Trist, even though they were able to win those fights. So something's going wrong for them bottom lane. Even though they're much stronger, she's still losing in CS. Mid lane is the only one where they're up, but yeah, Wikd's just pushing Hotshot out of lane consistently, and they've had no... Saintvicious hasn't been up there to pressure that lane at all. And I feel like Morgana should, when Wikd's pushing and she's pushing, roam up and gank. Although Morgana is not a good hero to gank an Irelia with, they've got to put some pressure on that lane, otherwise they're just going to give up too much, and Nidalee's going to fall way behind. And Nidalee is inherently less valuable late game than Irelia anyways, so they just can't afford to lose that lane. And we can see that SK is making up the gold differential that they lost from that dragon just by out-CSing primarily in top lane. He's the only one where there's huge CS differences. Kills are still 1-to-1, as is typical of high-level play. Very low kill counts, very safe play, but it's all about the subtleties. We're going to be seeing a large engagement here. Hotshot, I'm sure, has teleport, so what he's going to do is pressure top turret as much as possible before moving in. Oh, nice binding on Ocelote there. Get a bunch of free damage on Kassadin, and they're going to be able to force, thanks to Hotshot having teleport up. And I believe, yeah, Irelia is running Ignite, so SK don't have a teleport. But thanks to Hotshot having teleport, he's able to pressure top turret while 4 delay the dragon, and they're going to get a free turret for that, and SK is going to accomplish nothing. Although, wow, Morgana takes a lot of damage there. But yeah, huge boost for CLG there, and that's the power of teleport, is it gives you that ability to leave a hero top while you 4v5 at dragon. To delay it, not to fight it. And just pressure that lane so much that eventually they have to back off. Saintvicious clearing wards around the dragon, so that's good. Oh man, that was a cute body block from Ocelote. I think that was on purpose, where GG was going for the cannon creep with that. But Ocelote was like, no, fuck you, I have a catalyst, so I don't care about the damage, and I'd rather you not get that 30 gold. So he just steps in front of it and tanks the binding. Again, it's all about the subtleties of play. Taric, Tristana are pushing really hard against this Caitlyn, which is why she's missing so much CS. I'm surprised that that's happening though, because Caitlyn Q should be able to counter push against Tristana E pretty effectively. You can see 2 sets of 3 people bottom. Kassadin starting to make the transition because he can do that very quickly. Whereas Morgana stays to pressure the turret because she moves much more slowly. And also Morgana is a much more defensive hero than Kassadin, so her transitioning lanes is less powerful. But on the other hand, she can pressure the turret. Now we're seeing Saintvicious make a try for the dragon here, but I don't know why, because there's still 3 bot. I guess they thought they must have thought Snoopeh backed. Oh fuck! Come on.
To go on CLG dropped one.
Sorry about this, guys. I'm gonna have to find that timestamp again. It's after this. God damn it. So yeah, they've lost top turret. Dragon's up. We're seeing Irelia push, Nidalee back. I want to find. Oh, nice. Okay, I think. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Here is where we were at. So yeah, they just peel off the dragon and get back there. And actually, that dragon play I think was interesting. Was a very strategic play, because it forced Snoopeh not to go back. Like, it forced Gangplank not to base when he wanted to, but then they gave up the turret because Saintvicious was up at the wolves for too long, and they were able to siege down the turret. Now I think they took enough damage, and because Nidalee has teleport and Irelia is really low, that they're going to be able to pick up the dragon here. So we can see that they're pulling it out, and they're tanking on GG. A very wise decision. And yeah, so they pick up their second dragon of the game, which gives them, puts them back in a convincing gold lead, which they were sort of bleeding away. CS, we can still see, is still advantageous to SK. Although top lane, Nidalee has caught up a lot since she got that catalyst and got a bunch of free farm time while Irelia was over at dragon. While Hotshot was pushing the turret. But bottom lane, because Caitlyn's had to miss so much under tower, Trist is now more than 20 up. So, like, huge swing in bottom lane. And also they got that turret. Generally, at this point in the game, top turret is more important than bottom turret, because teams are starting to think about Baron. So you want that map control there. But for the most part, side lane turrets are roughly equal. If one team had a mid turret and the other team had a side turret, then the team that had taken down the mid turret would have a much larger advantage. Because of how much map control and like jungle control that gives you. But the fact that SK's top turret is down gives Hotshot sort of free reign to roam to their blue, which is very strong, because if you can take control of buffs and deny their AP solo blue, you get a huge advantage from that. And it's much harder for bottom lane to roam up to purple's blue buff. Gangplank all just went down top lane. Okay, yeah. But they can't. Can they really catch a Nidalee? Oh, I guess Kassadin can catch Nidalee. Wow. Okay. I thought for sure he was going to be able to get out. His flash must have been on cooldown. Yeah. Okay. He had just used the flash to escape the Gangplank ult, I guess. So Kassadin was able to catch that and take him down with a Blink Silence Ignite. Silence is very good against Nidalee, but I thought that he would have been able to escape that. So well played by SK. That's a very important kill. It gives Irelia free farm time and time to catch up. And CLG is in a really risky position here. I don't know why they stuck around there. They're lucky Gangplank doesn't have ult, but I think they're going to give up at least one and probably 2 deaths here. Yeah, they're giving up Chauster, and I think they'll probably have to give up Elementz too. No, okay. Elementz escapes. They had vision on Nidalee and Morgana, so I feel like Kassadin could have blinked after the Sona and killed him. I don't know why they decided not to pursue that. Because it's not like they're worried about Sona Trundle and Sona has no ultimate turning and killing Kassadin. Like, that's not going to happen. So I feel like they gave up a kill that they could have had there. And here they're forcing GG back. And they're probably going to be able to take mid for that. Because too many of CLG went back all at once. Yeah, I think they're certainly going to get mid when Tristana comes up. They should be able to siege it down easily. And they still have Gangplank over there to defend. And his ultimate should be back off cooldown shortly, if it's not already. So putting Gangplank against the teleport allows them to maintain some global presence. Because of the dragons, we can see that CLG is still up in gold. But the difference is starting to become much less pronounced. And with those traded mid turrets, I feel like that gives an advantage in general to SK, because the heal poke comp is sort of reliant on the other team grouping up to defend a turret, and then you just siege them down and they can't overcome your healing, and eventually you pick off the turret. But trading turrets is bad for that sort of lineup, because you want to slowly grind them down and not trade in bursts. I still feel like CLG is ahead of SK, although you can see they've got an Oracles as well now. Oracle's very important to have at this point in the game. You usually get it on the supports because they don't need the gold for other things, and they tend to roam a lot and not sit in lanes farming. Taric's a very defensive, like a very safe support as well, so he's a good Oracles carrier. And clearing wards is just very important. We can actually see that SK have really good ward coverage on Farron, but no wards anywhere else, whereas CLG have wards in the river and over by top lane. This is just a defensive ward for top lane, just to keep Hotshot safe. And this ward's for Dragon that SK just put down. So good, in general, good warding by both teams. Because of course both teams are trying to clear the other team's wards at the same time. SK taking this opportunity when CLG is nowhere near to pick up their blue buff. That's good because it doesn't allow CLG to get control of their buffs. CLG identifying that SK is a little bit out of position, so they're just going to go for the third dragon of the game. And it looks like we're going to have a confrontation here with Irelia running in and everything. They do pick up the dragon, and because Trundle has pillar, they can't even pursue effectively. Trundle could have just placed a pillar there if SK had tried to chase. and like maybe sealed off the Kassadin into the team. That's the power of Trundle, is it makes your team impossible to chase and like very difficult to force fights on. See that Snoopeh here has no mana, so Hotshot may be able to just chase him down. And he, like, they have, oh okay, he gives up. Because Irelia and Kassadin were coming for him. Because, I believe we're... Yeah, so the commentators just switched to Fog of War, I think to check whether Hotshot had vision on all of SK, like, because they were wondering also why he backed off. But I think that backing off was a smart decision there, even if he had vision. Just because diving that would have been very dangerous, and he is sort of... I don't think they can afford to give up another kill on Nidalee, because then they'll lose top turret, and then they'll be in a really difficult position. They need Nidalee just to keep this... excuse me. Keep this top half of the map locked down. Very important. You can see that she's doing her damnedest to make sure that the other team has no... oh, they missed a kill over here. Looks like a gank from Irelia. Able to pick off Caitlyn. That's really important. And it looks like they might get Hotshot again. That silence came late, so he was able to flash out, so they won't get him. Nidalee's so hard to gank. And yeah, I think SK's just stayed way too long in here, and they're going to be in serious trouble. Good Morgana ults, good Trundle work here. And they gave up kills that they did not need to. Trist is dead too, yeah. I don't know why they stayed there pushing against that bottom turret. They did get it, but I'm not sure it's worth those kills, because they're going to lose a turret for it. For them. Almost certainly. Although Caitlyn took a while to get back. So they'll probably... SK will probably actually be able to hold mid. Gangplank ult is not up though, so I feel like CLG should have pushed mid, or maybe tried to force a Baron attempt there with those 2 kills. Oh, if that binding had hit, that would have been one dead Kassadin. As it is, they have to be really careful not to get Sona picked off. You can see they're sending Caitlyn over there to farm. Everyone's item choices seem pretty standard, pretty good. Interesting that Irelia went Giant's Belt into Atma's rather than finishing off the Frozen Mallet or something first. I assume she's going Frozen Mallet with those items, although it could be Warmogs and with the Phage for an eventual Triforce. I actually often go on some champions, like Nocturne is one that I do this on fairly frequently. I buy Phage, and then I buy Giant's Belt, and then I don't build a Frozen Mallet, I build a Warmogs, and then I get an Atma's, and then I finish the Phage off into a Triforce. But I expect this is going to be a Frozen Mallet. Trundle's got an Aegis, no Aegis on this team, although I expect Taric will get one. You see he's got triple gold per 5, very standard Taric build. They're able to dive and kill Hotshot again, thanks to, he got baited by Trist and then silenced down by Ocelote. So very powerful. Hotshot, I think, needs to buy some MR, more than just the Merc Treads. I think building a Banshee Veil would not be bad here. They need him for damage, but I feel like if he was tankier, then this game would be going better for them. Because they don't need him for that much damage or AP. Mostly what they need him to do is just keep throwing spears, regardless of how much they hurt. Because the other team is relying on Taric heal, which runs out pretty quickly. We can see that SK is starting to get strong map control, so they have like a ward here and a ward here, and CLG has no wards anywhere, just because SK have been grouping up and roaming together and shutting down vision. CLG does have a ward there, but SK has a ward over there. Because Trist is bottom lane, they're going to maybe make a play for pressuring this turret. This is what their team comp is for, and I feel like they should have been doing this much earlier. Is they're going to throw spears, you see how hard that hits, and for how cheap it is. And they're going to like throw Caitlyn Qs, and then they're just going to heal up. So they got a whole game freezing. Nope, okay, my Firefox is freezing. God, this is absurd. Alright, I'm gonna be starting this up again. Sorry guys. Fuck. Man, okay. History.
Oh, CLG.
So, we're going to be jumping back to where we was at. We were further than that. Okay, here we go. So yeah, we're shortly going to be seeing Kassadin blink over the wall and put some damage on Hotshot, who will just heal it up. And yeah, I think they should have been doing this much earlier, where they can slowly siege down this turret. It would be nice if they had the blue on Hotshot rather than on Trundle, because if Nidalee had the blue, she could throw more heals and more spears. I mean, you see how low Wikd is getting compared to, see how low SK is getting compared to CLG, who are forced to back off before a full fight can happen. But I feel like if SK goes on this, they're gonna run into the like full powered counter initiation zoning comp that CLG picked. And this is why I thought these were really good picks, is they get a really strong ability to slowly siege down the turret. I think they should be doing more, trying to zone Wikd back. But they've got them somewhat low, so they're going to back up, and they're going to keep throwing spears and stuff, and they're going to make a play for this dragon. Once again, they can do the same thing at the dragon that they could do at the turret, which is poke. Caitlyn should be poking more with Qs, in my opinion. Yeah, so they've got Wikd down to half for free. That pillar was a little early. I don't like that pillar. They should have waited for the pillar to counter-initiate. And here they're getting split up, and this is the danger of their comp. If they get split up, Kassadin can pick them off. Yeah, and then they had to run around here. Oh, beautiful Morgana ult. Really well done by GG. Yeah, and that's nice. So that pillar gives them a good retreat path. But Kassadin's able to be picking people off left and right. So they're going to lose Saintvicious here too. And I think they're going to lose Elementz as well. Yep. And Hotshot should be safe. But that was brutal. I'm actually going to go back and we're going to watch that again and just talk about that a little more in depth. Okay. So the teams are getting set up. They're putting damage on Wikd. Wikd's quite tanky. Especially like with that armor plus the Taric armor. So they get a binding and they throw the spears and they get a lot of damage, but then Saintvicious makes a mistake and they try to wall Wikd off into the team. And I think that was absolutely an error, because going on Irelia is not going to be good because of her CC reduction. And that forces them to back up over the wall and get split apart. Now, GG makes a really good play there because they all cluster on him, and he is a powerful counter-initiator where he can just ult when 4 people cluster on him and fuck them up. But because his whole team had to get zoned out over the wall thanks to getting split off, thanks to getting split up because they didn't have Trundle pillar up to prevent that from happening, it's in vain. And they're going to get bot inhib here. So, unfortunately, they had a really good setup and a really good thing, but one tiny little error in that team fight, which was Trundle's error, got them crushed. And on the other hand, SK played that to perfection. They baited everyone going on Irelia, which she's very tanky and has CC reduction. And then when they saw Trundle's pillar go down in a bad position, they went for it, and Kassadin went around it so that he could force the other team, force CLG to split back off over this wall. And then they pick up bot inhib and dragon and are convincingly ahead in this game. In fact, I would go so far as to say that that fight probably calls it decisively for SK. And at this point, they're just looking to. You can see that they now have a 4K gold advantage as well as an inhib. And CLG have been winning this game the whole time. Like, more or less, CLG have been ahead in the game. I feel like pretty much up until then. But because I think they gave up too quickly on trying to siege down mid-turret, I feel like they should have done that earlier, and when they did eventually do it, they should have gone at it more. They should have kept it up. Because it's not like with mid-turret being sieged down, SK could have gone for the dragon. Like, they couldn't go through CLG to the dragon. So there was no need to go back up to dragon, I don't think. And then they had a good start to the fight, but they picked it poorly. They executed poorly on a good start to that fight. And that is going to end up costing them the game. I actually don't see them giving up turret, inhib, turret, dragon this late in the game. I don't see them coming back from that without a similar set of mistakes from Wikd. We can actually see that Irelia went for a Hex Drinker here, leaving the Giant's Belt and Sage. That's a really interesting item set. Everyone else has pretty standard items. Yeah, everyone else has pretty standard items. Taric went cooldown boots and gem, rather than building more of the Aegis, which I like. Cooldown boots are going to be really helpful for him. And yep, they're able to siege down mid-turret. And here they will probably try to force a fight at Baron once their ultimates come off cooldown. Yep, that looks exactly like what they're doing. They have a ton of vision in CLG's jungle. Like, look how many wards there are there. That's, I think, 4 wards in CLG's jungle. And 0 wards from CLG. They have no vision anywhere on the map. They're getting Ocelote blue. He's probably going to go healing, and then when he comes back... Oh, he's actually not going healing. I would have thought that they would send him healing and buying, and then they would force a fight at Baron, but I guess they're feeling confident enough, and CLG's pushed back enough, and they're pushed quite back, by Gangplank especially, pushing up to the turret, that they're just going to try to take the Baron. But then CLG move out, so they back off the Baron. I think that was a slight error by SK. I think they could have done that better. I think they should have gone healing, sent Kassadin healing, and left the other 4 there to prevent CLG from just rushing the Baron. And then when Kassadin returned with blue buff and chopped and healed, they could easily force a fight at Baron. We now have Hotshot with the blue buff, so that's much better than having it on Trundle, which was one of the main problems in the last fight, was that Nidalee didn't have blue, which makes it much harder to play the heal poke comp. You really need that Nidalee with the blue. SK getting popped, so they're clearly looking to, like, lots of pots. So they're clearly looking to close the game out very quickly. And here they're forcing the Baron because CLG had to back, and they're going to be able to pick up this Baron for free. And it's super safe because of how much vision they have. And with this Baron, they should easily be able to siege down mid-turret and win. Now, a heal poke comp should be really good in one of these protracted sieges, but Baron buff sort of negates that advantage entirely because of the amount of healing that it gives. So SK can slowly siege it down if they have to, but they probably can just initiate under it. Really good Morgana ult, forcing a bunch of flashes there. If that had been paired with an ult from Elementz, then they would have dominated that fight. That would have been a If Elementz had been in position or had his flash up, I think it was down. They'd have had a 5-man stun. But unfortunately for CLG, they get Irelia. But unfortunately for CLG, they don't get that miracle AoE stun magic happening, which if they had, could have put them back into this game. But without that, this game's over. So that'll be a GG. I'm expecting to see very, very shortly. So that was a really interesting game. I felt like SK came back from it pretty successfully. And we can see that CLG is all depressed. The pathos. So I felt like SK was behind early, and CLG made really good calls, like especially that first dragon they executed brilliantly. But SK were able to win their lanes, which is no small feat against CLG, and they were able to pick up just sort of some really strong fights later in the game, and I felt like CLG did not play to their comp. They kept splitting off instead of doing their siege that they built their team for. And that, I think, cost them in the end. And SK picked very well to counter CLG's comp, it's certainly true. But I think that CLG, I feel like there were just some mechanics errors and decision-making errors going on there, especially that missed pillar by Trundle and like not grouping up and pushing down the turret earlier. I don't know. Because I felt like they had an advantage going into this game. But anyways, so that's the analysis. Firstly, let me know what you think of this style of this. Let me know what you think of the style of this format. I might analyze more pro games in the future if you guys liked it. And secondly, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. And cheers. GG.